Yeah, hi coders. Welcome to the channel Java Hello World. So today we will discuss about how to configure multiple databases in the microservices or the Spring Boot. Suppose if we have different microservices and we need to configure each microservices with the particular databases. So suppose if we have A microservice and B microservice, so we need to configure the databases, the different database. Like with A microservice, we need to configure as MySQL. With microservice, we need to configure as Cassandra or Postgres. Like that, we need to configure. How can we do that? How can we achieve that? So we all know that we can um, configure the database, the single database we can configure, but for the multiple database, when it comes the multiple database, how can we configure it? So let's start with that. So let me share the screen. So here I have created one sample code for you, uh, that how to create the multiple how to configure the multiple database in Java for different services. So first of all, we need to write the, for configuring the databases, what we required the URL, username, password, and the driver class name. These four things are the mandatory things. Okay, so for the for adding that configuration, we need to add those in the application.properties. Let me type that properties. So we need to add it in application.properties file. So for the first database, suppose for the first database configuration, we are configuring MySQL. Okay, so this is something which I've already added uh, for you. This is like spring.data source.url, and the URL I've given. So here I've given this is the database, like which the name of that database, which database we can create. So multiple DB like this, we can create that. So here I have given the username and the password and the driver class name. So for MySQL, the driver class name is com.mysql.cj.gdbc.driver. Same thing like for the second database, which we are using Postgres. So for that also we can configure it. How can we do that? We can do it like, say, means we need to give the different data source.url will be there, but we need to give some different names so that it will identify, it will pick that yeah, it's a different database. So I am giving here a secondary dot data source.url and URL of the Postgres with having the same DB I am creating in Postgres as well, and the credentials which is username and the password, and the driver class name which is org.postgres.driver. So this is something which we have to write in the application.properties. Okay, so now let me show you. uh, so this is something in the application.properties we need to write. Now for now we need to have the proper packages in the Java program as well. So I have created one package for you, like this com.java hello world.db. So our main files, the controller layer, the service layer, the repository layer, the entity layer will be there in the inside this MySQL. So firstly it will be com, then Java Hello World, then DB, then MySQL. Then it comes the controller, the service, um, the repository, the entity, like that. So here I have created one, and inside that repo, inside this, so this is the main package for SQL, which is com.java.hello world.db.mysql. Okay, in the MySQL, two different folders are there. For the repository, we have repo, and for the entities, we have entities, entities folder. Okay, for the entity. So same thing we have for the Postgres. Now, how can we add that? So in order to do that, firstly we need to do some setup. We can create the class inside the MySQL. Then inside MySQL folder, there is will be the we can create configuration folder, and there something we can write config. Same thing we can do for Postgres as well. Okay, like that we can do. Let me show you, just a second. MySQL, so dot config. Now after this we will write uh, configuration class, or um, we can give MySQL db config class. Okay, so this I have already created. So MySQL db config. Now in order to have the configuration class, we need to give annotations, some annotations, which is at the rate configuration, at the rate enable transaction management, at the rate enable JPA repositories. Okay, so I'm assuming you know this. If you don't know, please comment in the comment section. I will try to create another video for the same. Okay, so here in the enable JPA repositories, like we need to add three things, which is entity manager, factory reference, base packages, transaction manager reference. So base package, we need to add the entity manager, factory reference, the transaction manager reference. So base package, where will it will pick from, where which repo link, which repository package it will pick, the MySQL one. So there we need to define base packages, and we need to give the package name. So here the package name uh, for that MySQL will be this one. Let me write for you. And here we will so currently I am creating for MySQL. Okay, similarly you can create for the Postgres. So in Postgres, we just have to go to this package. Instead of DB, after DB, we need to create one more folder, which is Postgres, and inside Postgres, we need to create uh, config, and there we need to create one class which is my Postgres db config. Like that we can give some specific name, which will be which we can identify that, yeah, this is some configuration class which we are making for which db, for which databases we are making for. So here I am adding mysql db config. Okay, so here need to add the environment, means we need to auto wire the environment class with the environment variable. Now firstly we will create one data source method. So inside that method we need to, means we need to also we need also make we need to also need to make sure that there will be the annotation primary, means we need to take one database is primary, otherwise it will confuse the compiler, the context, the Spring Boot will get confused, the that whether which database we need to pick. I need to pick. So for that we need to give one primary, annotation for that. Okay, and then we need to set as bean. Okay, so that is something the definition. While we are having the bean, we need to give at the rate configuration as well in the class level and at the rate bean in the configuration class. Okay, so here I am creating one object which is driver manager data source. So for that class we have the data source as object. So data source dot set url, here I am setting the url. So what is the url? I am taking that from the application dot properties. Like as we have defined the depend the auto wide injection. So here environment dot get property, and what we have defined there for the url, it is spring dot data source dot url. So if you will give this key, then automatically it will pick the value from that key. Okay, so here spring dot data source dot url. Similarly, for driver class name we need to give, and for the username we need to set, and for the password as well. Now there comes one entity manager factory bin. So here we need to give one more we need to create one more method which is entity manager factory bin. So here I am creating the class the return type as local container entity manager factory bin. This is the predefined uh, return type. Okay, and also make sure that we will create the bean and the primary in every methods. So in place of bean we need to give the name of the bean which is nothing but entity manager factory bin. You can give any name, but remember that whatever name you are giving here you need to give here also in the before the starting of the class, which is here entity manager factory reference. Okay, now here I have created a method, and in that method, inside that method I have created one class, one object of the local container entity manager factory. Now I'm setting that with the data source. So data source is nothing but the data source which you have created having the configuration for the particular data source for the particular database. Now I am setting the JPA vendor adapter as well. So this allows the Spring Boot to have the vendor adapter configuration, the behavior of the vendor JPA vendor. Okay, so you can see this like JPA vendor adapter we are adding because Spring Boot take the behavior. Spring Boot also can take the behavior of the JPA vendor. Okay, if you want about this topic, I will create another video for this. Just let me know if you have any doubts in the comment section. So but for timing for now, just remember this, like we need to add this set JPA vendor adapter as well in that while creating the bin. Now we are creating one map with the properties as some object, and there we are putting some other configuration like the dialect, so SQL, HBM to DDL, like that. So in this key I am putting at hibernate dialect, and the value which is org hibernate dialect dot mysql dialect. Now the so SQL will be true, and this auto HBM to DDL auto will be update. Okay, so if we are we means we are doing some changes, some query we are writing, if it is uh, already there, then it will update. So like that we are adding that value. Okay, uh, so basically we are trying to update that if the value the data is already exist. Okay, so through that we are doing this. Now the set JPA property map, so we are setting the property map uh, with that particular method and props which we have created that map. So we are adding that map in this set JPA properties map. Okay, now we are setting the package to scan. So what is the package to scan for this? So this is, as I said, this is entity manager factory. So here remember that we need to give the package for entities. So let me give it for you, and don't confuse with the previous package what we have given and the this package what we have given. So this is for entity, and the previous one was for repo, like from repository, from where we are calling that what is the repository, means what is the package of that repository. Okay, now I am returning it, this bin. Now again, we need to set the transaction manager. As we have set it, the data source, the entity manager factory, and that then transaction manager. So here for the transaction manager also we need to give primary as the annotation and the bean. In the bean we need to give the name, the transaction manager, like this name will same as the name which we are giving the before the start of the class, starting of the class, which is here transaction manager reference. Here we have given transaction manager, same thing we need to give here also. Now in this transaction manager we are creating the class with the return type as sorry, we are creating the method with the return type as uh, platform transaction manager. So here firstly inside this method we are creating one object of JPA transaction manager. Now we are setting that the entity manager factory. So we are setting it with the entity manager factory as already defined. We have already implemented that method. So in order to get the values of that, we need to uh, write get object dot get object. Okay, then we are returning the manager, this object. So after this, like this I have created for the MySQL. Same thing you can create for the Postgres as well. So just have to do some little changes. Here we need to add the Postgres as a folder and then configure, and then here we need to add the class as Postgres, and then uh, we need to change this as well because there is something secondary. Okay, and this will be same, this entity manager and the uh, means this transaction manager. But for the entity manager we need to change the dialect as well as this will be Postgres. Okay, and the packages to scan, like that we can create for the Postgres as well. So it will uh, means create the database, configure the data for the two databases. So how you find this video, please like it, comment it, and subscribe the channel. If you have any doubts, comment in the section, and other if you want to create, if you want me to create another video with the another topic, please let me know in the comment section. I will try to create with that same. So until unless, bye.